welcome to the podcast. I'm Jenna Morton.
And I'm Tosh Taylor. And today we are spending another beautiful day outside.
We are. It's fantastic fall weather here in New Brunswick.
So today, and actually we talk about this every single time we do podcasts about how much we love our province and how much we want everybody to know about our province. But one thing that you've probably picked up on us is that we also really like to empower women. And that's something we're going to do today. We're going to talk women in politics and see where that goes today with two extremely influential women in the greater Moncton area and right down the 114 to Hillsborough these days too. So we're going to introduce you now to Melody Land, who is a councillor in Hillsborough. Hello. And then we also have a former councillor with us, Tammy Rampersaud. Tammy, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
You want to start? Go ahead.
Sure.
You've got all the questions, so let's do it. Yeah.
Well, I think we're going to start today, Melody, with you, as you are fairly newly elected. The municipal elections were back in the spring.
Yes.
How's it going so far?
It's going really, really well. There's certainly a huge learning curve. It's my first term ever serving, though I have been really involved in the community in the past as well. But it is certainly a learning curve. We had a lot of training to do, which I took part of all of it and then rewatched the tapes. That's the great thing with COVID. Everything's recorded on Zoom. So I got to rewatch everything and I work really, really closely with my colleagues as well as our mayor to learn the ropes. But I'm very, very involved. I'm on, I think, 7 or 8 different committees. And
Two with me.
2 with Jenna Tosh. I am the chair of a couple of different committees. So it's been really wonderful in a lot of ways.
So right off the bat, it sounds like a huge time commitment to me. Is it more or less than you were expecting going in?
Yes to both. I think I knew what the range could be. I was educated beforehand and asked a lot of questions, particularly of our administrator clerk, who has been in the position for 16 years. So she's really knows the ropes herself. And so I did take time to ask her a few questions. And essentially she said, you can make it what you want it to be. So you can be involved. We're only mandated in our jurisdiction to be in up to 4 different committees to represent the village. But I've kind of taken on a little bit more than that because of my own personal passions and the things that I see happening within the community that I want to be a part of.
Excellent. So you both kind of have similar paths. And I don't even know if you guys realize how similar they are, but you both ran provincial in the beginning, but I think yours, Melody, got knocked down by COVID, didn't it?
I was involved with talking provincial. Never have actually run.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then so then both on council, and Tammy, you spent some time on council, and same thing. You were involved in everything.
Yeah, it was, well, we moved here 14 years ago. I'm from Amherst originally, but I grew up in Mississauga. And we moved here and the kids were young and I got involved in the school and everything grew from there, right? It's a community, a greater community in a province that allows for that. And really, if we didn't have volunteerism, we wouldn't be the province that we are. So everything snowballed from there and I knew how much I loved my community and wanted to give back. And so then I ran.
Excellent. And then, but you sat on a bunch of boards and stuff while you were, and you probably still are, because you're not the type to just walk away. So, what are you doing now that you're not on town council?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I actually, it's funny because I had run for mayor and I wasn't successful, and it was in the spring and it led into the summer, and I really wanted to take the summer. I was afforded the opportunity to take the summer to really have a look at myself, my worth. I think it's interesting, even though I ran for mayor and people would say that that's really brave to do that, somehow I think I lost the value of my worth along the way, and I often did things that people expected me to do. Right. And I wanted to take the summer to look at my skill set and what would make me happy in the future. And so I've gone back to school. I'm taking a public relations, public communication course with Dalhousie, and I'm starting my own public relations firm. So wow. That's really where my passion is and my time right now.
Yeah, busy.
Yeah.
Busy.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you'd expand a little bit on that idea of Because I think it's probably very easy to lose yourself along the way when you're in the public eye, no matter what that job is, but especially in politics. And I'm wondering, especially since we have, kind of the rookie here to learn from a mentor, what can you share more about that part of the experience?
Yeah, and I think you sound like you're similar. And you want to, your heart is wrapped around everything, right? And you really do want to do this for all the right reasons and make a difference and make an impact and, fix everything in the world, right? I get that. And so for me, it was, like I said, everything snowballs. So people ask you to get involved and you get involved. It's hard to say no. But it's not a bad thing to say no. So it's okay to say no sometimes. Check yourself, check, what your priorities are, where your heart is, really if it's the right thing for you to do at that time. Again, because you have to take care of yourself, right? We always have to take care of ourselves. My worth, coming back to that, I think because I got involved with my community so much, and when we moved here, I stayed home with my children. So I had a career in management and human resources prior to moving here. But when we moved here, my husband traveled so much, the kids were young, we were new to the area, I stayed home. So I think some of my worth to myself was lost a little bit then. And I think this summer I helped really reevaluate and, people would ask me, what do you do? I had council, what are you doing? And I would say, I'm just... And so I've removed that word from myself, and it's a work in progress, but yes. So you're not just anything.
And it's important to do, and I found that even running because, the idea when I started to run, first of all, there was more women running in our election than there ever had been before. There was more options in our riding than there ever was before. And I knew I had to work really hard. The message I had initially received was, we don't really campaign like that here. And it was about knowing my worth. It's funny how you said that because the entire process for me was focusing on who am I and this is who I am authentically, and a lot of people didn't like it. It's people love to give you the feedback, and I got a lot of feedback, particularly in some of my areas of my activism, because I'm an active LGBTQ ally, because I'm an active voice for marginalized individuals, because I think social services are imperative to be offered by a village or a town or a city, not an option. And so a lot of those were new ideas for a lot of people, and it was threatening for a lot of people and went against the grain for a lot. So there was a lot of negativity thrown at me. And for a little while I stopped and I was, what am I doing? I had that moment. I can't fix anything. My first council meeting, I made a motion that wasn't even seconded, so it couldn't be discussed. Nobody would speak to it. And I'm not going to lie, and I would say this to anybody, that was really hard. Yeah. Because you go into it wanting things to be better and to do better. And somebody very wise told me, they're like, remember, it's seed planting and continue to be authentic to who you are. So midway through the campaign, I literally stopped for about 3 days and do I tone it down? And I thought, no, I don't tone it down because all voices matter and my voice is just as important. My voice isn't just as important. I had to take just as. And it was phenomenal. And so, it was very close. I got in by 19 votes and the person above me by 11 next to me. And so I don't take those margins lightly. Also remembering, like you said, it's okay to say no. Sometimes I've got to prove it. I've got to prove myself that I'm here. And I don't know that any other councillors, I don't know that is something that is not unique maybe to being a female in a predominantly male-dominated environment. I have to prove myself. I can't be too passionate because then that's emotional or all those sorts of things. So that has been a learning process for me on an intrinsic level. balancing all of that. But the focus always being, this is who I am, this is what I offer, and this is what I think is important. And if it's important for me, I know for sure it's important to somebody else. Maybe they just haven't had the chance yet.
Did you face any of the same issues when you first got on town council here in Riverview?
I think a lot of it is females share those burdens and not everybody else does. But it's also a personality thing. You know, some people care more than others.
Yes, for different things.
Some people fill seats. You know what I mean? And we've all been on committees and involved in groups and organizations where some people sign up for things and they're hardly there, or they don't make an impact. I think you're probably very much like me and want to do as much as you can, right? So that's a difference in personality too, and not everybody carries that. It doesn't make them bad people,
No,
it's just
exactly.
who they are, right? And it's who we are. So I did carry that with me too, and I felt like I was somebody that always had to prove something. And it is hard too. It's, you know, that Ruth Bader Ginsburg, speak the truth even if your voice shakes, right?
Exactly.
Or I don't know that I said that properly, but that really resonated with me because that happened a few times.
Yeah.
It's scary sometimes to be the only one. That's scary to not have your emotion second so that you couldn't even have a conversation,
even present it.
right?
And it was. And I understand now. At the time, it was like I was shaking because I thought, did I do something wrong? And then I realized that no, I didn't do anything wrong. It was that this issue, like you said, it's not as important to somebody else. So maybe I planted a seed, and now I can step away for a little while and continue the work that I do.
And change is hard.
Change is hard.
To be fair, like you're in
definitely is.
Hillsborough, we're in Riverview, and there's a difference there. We're still not Moncton, we're not Toronto.
Yes.
But in Hillsborough, the way that you campaigned, it was never done before.
Right.
Right? And
was new.
so you were louder, you were out there, all what you should be doing, but they haven't seen that before. So that's hard for people to get used to too.
And I've been trying, and as I've been learning, it's just to give people a lot of grace for that, because change is hard. It's hard for me, and so because I represent a lot of that ideology, change is going to be even more difficult. And so I have to remember just to give everybody that I work with a lot of grace and understanding, and realize that that's okay. You know, we're all there, and even if you don't agree with the voice, it doesn't mean that it's not important that it's there. And that's kind of what I talked about even during the campaign, is that you might not agree with everything I believe in, but we need to acknowledge that it's important that diversity, and diversity is so incredibly important when you sit at any table, whether it's local government or a committee or around your living room at a family meeting. You're going to have that.
I'm wondering, Tammy, especially since you've been in the political public world longer, have you noticed any shifts over the time in the way, you know, is that message coming through? Are people realizing the equal value of different opinions, or are people not accepting and coming after it?
That's really interesting, because I was thinking about that recently, actually. And when you're asking the question, I know exactly what you're asking, and I'm trying to give you a solid answer, but I think it's kind of split up. We can talk about it both ways. I think that there is an attention and a growing respect amongst some for diversity and for women empowering, and you know, all of that. And if we look at mental health, we could say the same thing. We know more about it. We talk more about it. It's out there. But at the same time, are they actionable results that we're seeing? You know what I mean? So I'll still, and I don't know about campaigning in Hillsborough, but being a woman, you will still get very unflavorable things said about you online, and it's such an immediate online world right now, and so quick, and even up doors, right? The comments that you hear sometimes are less than stellar.
You're so
and I'm
nice.
sure that I'm trying to be, and I'm sure that our counterparts have not experienced that part of things. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure they get their hate online
Definitely.
and challenged and stuff too. But there's an element there that comes toward females.
Is unique.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and you ran, like we're talking about Melody's different campaign, but you also did. Your signage was different. Nobody had ever seen anything like that. Your buttons, and I can't imagine we're both living in places where people don't change. So when you ran that different kind of campaign, did you find that it got you a lot of extra attention or negative attention or?
Yeah, that was neat. So even in 2016, when I ran for councillor at large, I used the caricature on some of my signage, not all. So like on lawn signs and some of the literature and buttons. And then I did the exact same thing in my mayoral campaign. So not on everything, because I wanted people to know that I could be different. I could be refreshing and inventive
and fun.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm also going to give you a shout. You were one of the first people I can remember locally who did like the vertical signs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Rather than like the big horizontal,
Yeah.
like Tammy with that
I wanted
graphic
to be
redhead.
different. Yeah.
Boom. It was, it stood out here.
Yeah.
My daughter noticed it.
Oh,
She's really into politics and she's only 7.
I love that.
And she noticed it.
Yeah. And I was scared because I didn't want people to think that I was just not taking it seriously. Right. So I wanted to balance it, and I think I did. And the feedback, honestly, was far more positive both times around than negative. Yes, there was some negative, especially from folks that supported, the other side, right? Of course, they're going to find things that they want to say negative. But overall, I can't tell you how many people said to me that they loved the signage because it was different and it was refreshing, and they never really cared about politics or paying attention. And everybody brings that, right? Like you would have brought, whether you run for a party or not, you still brought a following of people that believe in you, right? And you grow that as well. Exactly. So, I would bring a different following along with me, then you want to grow that as well. So it was really nice to hear positive feedback on that, especially from a town that you might think is difficult with change, right? So it was scary to do that though.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to switch gears and talk about, because I noticed through both campaigns, I tried to interview as many people running as I possibly could. And one thing that was said to me, and I will not say who it was, but it was about women running because we should be home raising our families. And I went, really? Tammy raised 3 kids while on council. Melody, you're raising a daughter. Yes. Like, how did you make that work? Especially with Warren being away too, right? So how did you make that all balance out?
In the beginning, as I said, when I got involved with the school, and Warren is away, well, not during COVID. We're stuck with each other more nowadays, right? But he would be traveling quite a bit, and it was like I would pay for babysitting a lot for things that I couldn't bring my children to, right? And not everybody has to do that. Right, but you could be a single parent of either sex too, or however you identify, and still be faced with that. Yeah. So that was something. What was awesome though is that my children went through all of these processes with me. They've campaigned several times. They're part of this world. They're far more aware. Like you said, your daughter is very political, and I'm thankful for that. Like my children will not vote. This time around, I met a gentleman, sweet guy, over on Windsor, a little bit older than me, and I'm 48. We talked about her age. He had said he never voted in his life.
Wow.
He's lived there forever, never voted in any election. And I was harassing him. We had a great conversation. And I asked him, seriously, I need you to vote. Whatever you vote, however you vote, you need to vote. And then I said, am I going to have to come back every single election and knock on your door to tell you to vote? But it's amazing how many people don't, right? So it's about connecting with them. And so I'm glad that my children kind of grew up in this. But Terry McMacken in Petticodiac, you know, she campaigned with a newborn and talked about, you know, she had to have conversations with her council about maybe having your children being babysat while you're in a council meeting. And should those things be an option, you know, for people who are elected officials? So that's a whole conversation that can be had too.
Well, I was going to ask about your experiences with that in this province in particular, because it's not something I've encountered a whole lot, because I haven't been involved with a lot of committees that aren't kind of based around a lot of women, right? So a lot of committees I've been involved with, we meet when the kids are in school or in the evening when we know, and I've even been on groups where, oh yeah, okay, do you need to hire a babysitter to come here? Let me know how much it is. The group is going to pay for it, because they've been very female-led groups.
Yes.
But a friend of mine who has run politically in Nova Scotia has basically spent her entire political career, she's a single mom, constantly having to push, not just within politics, but even within her professional life. You know, if you want to have a conference and you want to make it equal, you need childcare for whoever might need it. Like you said, it's not a female issue. It's an issue of equality. And I'm wondering, like, is that something that's actively being talked about at a municipal, provincial level here at all, or is it something that's hopefully coming?
Well, federally, so I was first vice president too with the Union of Municipalities, and that's a conversation that we started having for our annual general meetings, right? Because there were women's voices bringing it forward. If there aren't, it's not going to get talked about.
Exactly.
That's why we need women everywhere at the tables, right? To talk about these things. Meanwhile, you're right, it's not just a woman's issue, but the women are going to bring it up, as with other issues, right? Federally, FCM, so our membership with them, their annual conference, they have made allowances for that. So people like Terry McMacken can go there and sign up for childcare and not have to pay for it, and she can attend the sessions, which is amazing. And then still possibly go visit and breastfeed and then come back to a session, right? So it is something that needs to be more incorporated, but if you don't have the right people asking for it and pushing for it, it's not good. And if you don't have a female-led, you know, organization or committee, it might never get brought up.
That's very true. And that was a common question I was asked by constituents is, how do you plan on having the time? You work at, I had run my own business and then COVID, so that changed a little bit. And my husband works in healthcare. And so, you know, it's been a lot. The past 2 years has been a lot. So how are you going to do it? And that was a question I had to answer. That, you know, I've created my life to do this. My daughter's also very excited about it, and it's a question that needs to be asked.
Absolutely.
Well, and we're going to have to ask it again another time, because we are running out of time for this conversation today, which we knew was going to happen.
Yeah.
But thank you both so much for coming and for having such an open conversation. And I know that it's going to spark other conversations, especially between the two of you, because these two are going to go off and spend the rest of the day together, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We'll add into the show notes and everything how people can find you guys online. You both have still very public social media accounts, so if people are interested in learning more about what it might be like to get into the business of politics.
Absolutely. And we want to thank this episode's sponsor, Jillian Crooks. Jillian is a registered holistic nutritionist at Rehab 1 in Moncton, and she's starting a really awesome 12-week program to help you kind of like up your nutrition, get your energy back. I've been doing it. It's amazing. The fact that I'm not sitting right now is a blessing. So if you wanted to check out Jillian Crooks, we highly suggest it.
Thanks, everyone.